This series will exceed expectations with its fantastical storyline, as it tells the tale of two people brought together by fate after 7 years. Will our heroine recognize him and uncover the dangerous secrets he's hiding? We'll find out in this summary. The series begins with our mysterious and quiet protagonist, Chan, alone in a lab conducting strange and secret experiments that no one knows about. The only person he talks to is our heroine, Ran, who tries to engage him in conversation about anything to fill his day and alleviate his loneliness. We then see our hero calmly engrave her name on a pen as a gift for her. After a while, Ran wins a design award at her company, shocking everyone because she's new to the company, yet she still achieves such success. She immediately returns and tells our hero that the pen is the reason for her win, as she used it to draw the design. At this point, we learn that she's writing to him while he's in Boston and she's in Seoul. Despite the distance, she conveys her feelings to him, especially when it rains. She asks him to go outside and breathe the air because it has a unique and pleasant scent. He calmly and intelligently explains that it's the smell of organic matter in the soil. But our heroine isn't satisfied and tells him to stop explaining and just enjoy himself and live in the moment. So our hero decides to overcome his fear and loneliness for a while and try going out in the rain, even if just for a few minutes. In those moments, Chan feels free and experiences the comfort and joy he's always been avoiding. The next day, we see our heroine at the company, thinking about her friend Chan. But suddenly, all her colleagues ask her about him and their friendship, but the shock comes when they find out he's the brother of her close colleague. What drives our heroine crazy is the news that she has 4 days off from work. At that moment, she doesn't wait a second and decides to take the first flight to see her friend and meet him. On her way home, she calls her friend Yoo-jung and tells her the news and that she's leaving on the next flight. Meanwhile, our hero is minding his own business when he receives a video message from Ran. But the boy is even more shocked when he opens the message and finds her at the airport. She tells him she has a surprise for him and came especially to meet him because, to be honest, she wants to confess something important. But the clever Ran can't wait and tells him she loves him and came to Boston to confess. Our hero goes crazy when he sees the video and can't believe it. He immediately rushes to his university in Boston, but at that moment, he's hiding a dangerous secret he doesn't want anyone to know. Meanwhile, we see Ran finally arrive and get into the first taxi she sees to meet him. But suddenly, in the midst of her excitement and joy, her life is turned upside down. This happens the moment our hero opens the door to the university lab. At that moment, a huge explosion occurs, leaving everyone in shock, including our heroine, who gets out of the plane. The taxi driver is there, and she can't believe her eyes. But what truly breaks her heart is our hero's head and ear injuries. 7 years after this tragic accident, we see a professional photo shoot. All the photographers and designers are completely focused, eager to finish and relax. While the model is getting ready in front of the cameras, everyone suddenly becomes tense. The reason for their tension is fashion queen Nana, who, as always, surprises everyone with her elegance and style. From the very beginning, she starts correcting them and fixing any mistakes in the studio. They immediately follow her instructions and successfully complete the shoot. Then, the queen sits down, and everyone thanks her for her help and crucial touches. But she asks them to thank the designer instead, praising her creativity. However, when they look for her, they can't find her. At that moment, we realize they're talking about our heroine, Ran, is walking quietly and alone on the rooftop, lost in thought. Sadness is evident on her face. Meanwhile, at the airport, we see an American man named Ben. He's clearly amazed, and it's obvious this is his first time in Korea. But when he looks around, he can't find his friend. The shock comes when we learn that his friend is none other than our hero, who's returning to Korea after a 7-year absence. He's overjoyed and excited, taking pictures of everyone at the airport and smiling everywhere. As soon as he finishes taking pictures, he gets into the car with his friend. Our hero is experiencing a mix of emotions and has a list of places he wants to visit. His friend is surprised by his energy and asks why he hasn't come all these years. But he remains silent, taking in the scenery around him. That's when we notice the burns on his hand, and we understand. He was injured in the explosion that happened 7 years ago. But the bigger truth is that they're planning to meet a project manager named Yoon. As soon as they arrive at the cafe, our hero and his friend Ben greet him. But the excitement is insane. And our hero won't leave the guy alone, telling him, "You have no idea how excited I am about this collaboration." Meanwhile, Ben is on the side, explaining how he learned to speak Korean and that his mother and mother-in-law are Korean. In short, chaos ensues. And the guy is shocked but keeps quiet for the sake of the collaboration and the project. At the same time, we see our heroine's team at the office, all gathered to have lunch and chat. But suddenly, as usual, they notice that Ran isn't there and realize she's avoiding them. One of the team members tells them she's complicated and depressed, which is why she doesn't participate in any events or even speak. They're all surprised, while she's actually alone. She's secluded in a cafe, drawing calmly and peacefully. But her sadness is evident. Meanwhile, we see our hero, who seems almost Korean. This boy takes pictures everywhere, even the flowers on the ground. His friend is shocked by his joy and enthusiasm, as if he's never been locked away and is seeing the world for the first time. But our heroine is still living in a nightmare, quietly drawing in the cafe. The owner suggests she break free from her reverie and visit a museum currently on display in the spring. Luckily, she buys a ticket and considers it. But to her surprise, our hero has already arrived at the museum, captivated by the sights and leisurely exploring every corner. But fate has a big shock in store for him. Our heroine suddenly appears beside him, looking at the paintings on display. But the moment our hero sees her, he can't believe his eyes and is thrown into a whirlwind of emotions, completely stunned. Not only that, but when he tries to approach her, he's terrified and immediately backs away because he doesn't know what to say. He keeps staring at the painting, reliving her words and her confession of love for him, while he ran away from her and disappeared. But just as he decides to speak to her, she's vanished. Undeterred, he tries to find her outside the gallery. After a long run, our hero finally spots her in the distance. At that moment, he feels like time has stopped, and he can't move or speak. But suddenly, in the middle of his thought, he notices some construction work near where our heroine is standing. But the poor thing doesn't realize the iron is about to fall on her because she's wearing headphones and is oblivious to everything around her. Our hero is devastated and terrified. He keeps calling her name at the top of his lungs. Luckily, our heroine senses someone calling her and turns around at the last moment. But everyone gathers around her, worried she might have been hurt by the falling metal. That night, we see our hero talking to his friend, still in shock from what happened. He explains that he's been away from Korea for 7 years to avoid her because he ran away and is afraid of many things. But his friend doesn't understand him or the riddles he's using and advises him to go to sleep because they have work the next day. As soon as our hero wakes up, we see him in an important meeting. He's the main character and the cartoon character designer for the company they're collaborating with. What no one expected is that the designer Nana's company is also collaborating with him and they're both present at the meeting. At that moment, our hero asks Nana to design some clothes for him, for the characters, but she looks at him calmly and asks, "Why would I do that?" Our hero tries his best to convince her, but she remains adamant. However, thanks to his cleverness, he tells her he's a huge fan of hers, has attended all her projects, and has been her role model for years. Of course, Nana succumbs to his charm and immediately accepts his proposal, shocking everyone present, especially her employees, who know she's a hard worker and doesn't accept just any project. Not only that, but our hero even takes pictures with her, acting completely at ease as if she were his niece. At that point, he decides to go and get the rest of the project paperwork to present to her. But the manager notices something strange and hints at the character's resemblance to someone she knows. After much thought, she discovers that it's a clone of Ran, their designer. Meanwhile, the biggest surprise comes when our hero finds a pen on the floor. But as soon as he picks it up, unable to believe his eyes when he sees Ran's name on it, remembering that he's the one who gave it to her. And oh, the shock when he sees her in front of him. He feels like the world has ended in that moment. But the tables turn, and the story takes a 180-degree turn because our heroine doesn't know what he looks like and has never seen him before. She's only ever written to him. Meanwhile, he's the only one who recognized her when she sent the video before the accident. These moments are etched in our hero's heart, especially when she asks his name, greets him, and introduces herself as the lead designer on the project they'll be collaborating on. Our hero gets flustered, but tries to calm down and move on. Before heading back, he washes his face to recover, as the shock is clearly evident. And indeed, as soon as they return to the meeting, they are formally introduced, while Nana tries to ask him more about the characters he's designed. But suddenly, she tells him that the main character is inspired by a specific person. Of course, our hero. He understands her intention, and then comes the second shock. One of the employees tells him that the boss suspects Ran, their designer, is the one who made the revelation. To make matters worse, this girl is our heroine's middle sister, and their grandmother is the boss, Nana. And what a shock. The whole family works in the industry. Our hero is taken aback and drops his water glass, ruining his clothes. Employee Remy immediately goes and gets him a new suit so he can continue the meeting. But he decides to give this task to our heroine and asks her to deliver it to him. The kind girl agrees and goes to his room, calling for him, but he doesn't answer. So she decides to open the door and check on him. But he's changing his clothes and not paying attention to her. The boy gets flustered as soon as he sees her, especially when she sees the tattoos and burns on his body. But she quickly runs out so as not to embarrass him further. And after the day ends, we see him at the peak of his anxiety and fear that she'll discover who he is, but it's crystal clear he's hiding a huge secret he doesn't want her to know. At that moment, his friend Ben enters and finds him packing his bags. Ben tells him he's leaving and abandoning the project. His friend argues with him, saying, "What are you saying? You must be joking. This is a huge project, and the boss is coming in a few days." But our hero is adamant, closes his suitcase, and leaves. Before he does, Ben tells him he's giving up and running away from the reality he has to face, and that he should reconsider. Hours later, his friend finds the house empty and is upset that he gave up and left. But suddenly, he receives a video call from their company president to follow up on the developments. But our hero finally appears and decides to carry on as normal. He joins the meeting and explains everything that happened to the president. With them, of course, Ben is shocked because he thought he'd traveled. As soon as the meeting ends, they argue and make up. And our hero decides to invite him to dinner to forgive him. At that moment, our hero makes the decision to endure the 3 months of cooperation, confident that nothing bad will happen during them. Now, let's return to our heroine, who feels day after day that she's being watched and someone is filming her, but she ignores it. At night, we see her grandmother, Nana, at home, working for a while. But suddenly, the younger sister returns from school, and we learn that she's in her final year of high school. So, our heroine has 2 sisters and lives with them and her grandmother. Nana is very attentive to her youngest granddaughter and tells her to take care of herself as much as she does with her studies. At the same time, our heroine, who comes home late from work, follows her. Her grandmother tells her she's pushing herself too hard and might break down. But she tells her to postpone the reprimand and go rest in her room. But her grandmother doesn't let her go and follows her, discovering that she's not going to rest but intends to continue working in her secret room. At that moment, she gets angry and calls her over to talk to her. She tells her, "Look, my dear, you need someone in your life, and I'll arrange a date for you with the famous photographer, Yoon." Of course, our heroine refuses, saying she's busy and doesn't have time, and immediately apologizes and leaves. Her grandmother is now certain that her poor granddaughter is lost in her sorrows. Her depression was so intense that her whole life revolved around work. The next morning, we see the president sitting in the living room, trying to forget what happened. But her other granddaughter comes and talks to her. At that moment, we realize there's a big difference between the sisters' personalities. But suddenly, in the middle of their conversation, our heroine's sister notices the news showing the accident our heroine almost got hurt in. She immediately turns off the TV and changes the subject so her grandmother won't find out and worry. But she quickly goes to her older sister's room and calls her to find out when it happened. Ran tells us it was a minor accident and that she's fine. But what drives her crazy is seeing on the news that someone actually called her name, and they're showing a blurry picture of him from his clothes. Our heroine recognizes him as the same person she met at the meeting. But she wonders how he knew her name before she even spoke to him. Her sister reassures her, saying it must be a coincidence. Or maybe it was someone else. And she's not paying attention. And indeed, our heroine goes about her business and heads to her office. But as soon as she arrives, she has work to do and starts immediately. But as soon as her colleague helps her, she finds our hero's shirt that he forgot and realizes that it's the same person who called her and was on the news. But what shocks her is finding the poster for the exhibition she was at on the day of the meeting, and she's stunned that it really was him and he didn't even know her name. Our heroine spends the whole night thinking about it, thinking about his name, and it feels familiar. At the same time, our hero is working late and is overcome by a wave of strange and mysterious memories related to our heroine and some events that no one knows anything about. On the side, we see our heroine go to work as usual, but this time she's shocked to find her colleagues worried about her after an unknown person sent her many pictures, as if they were stalking her. Of course, our heroine hides her fear and asks them they don't care about the topic and go back to their work, but in reality, as soon as she returns to her office, she is extremely nervous and keeps thinking, who is this stalker and why is he doing this? Then her sister comes in and tells her that it can't be that his name is Chan, because he knew your name before he knew you. Our heroine is somewhat convinced by what she says and prefers to think more about the matter. Especially since the character he designed actually resembles her, meaning he could also be the stalker. Our heroine prefers this situation and goes to the cafe to calm down, relax, and clear her mind a little. But the surprise is when she decides to walk because she has an important meeting, but soon after her, our hero enters, and we learn that he has a good relationship with the owner of the cafe, especially since he fixes the damaged things for him when he first arrived. Not only that, he sits with him and distracts himself from what is on his mind. This is because he has been upset lately and asks him if one memory can take a person back to many memories and drag him into a big spiral that we may be running away from or afraid to face. Of course, the man does not understand what he means. But he comforts him and brings him a cup of coffee so he can relax, but he quietly goes to the piano in the cafe and plays with all sadness and fear, because his memories are starting to hinder his life. At the same time, we see our heroine running to her grandmother to find out what the meeting was about, but she is surprised when she finds out that she is lying to her and did all this to attend the planned date that was prepared for her. Perhaps she will be guided and live her life like other girls. But she is very fanatical and completely rejects the issue and says, "I am the one who knows best that I am not ready for this stage." And this is because her life is complicated and she will not be able to fear for anyone else. She tells her grandmother, "Enough of this depression that's trapping me in the past, and I can't break free from it." Our poor heroine says this in a state of collapse and goes anywhere far away from her grandmother to calm down. Meanwhile, her grandmother is deeply saddened by her situation and is upset by her condition, especially when she remembers how she felt when she lost her mother and father in an accident right before her eyes. But what drove her even crazier was when she returned from her trip and lost her dearest friend, the one who understood and comforted her. From that day on, her life was turned upside down. We return to the present and see her decide to go back to the photographer to apologize for the misunderstanding and explain that she's not interested in dating right now. But the shock comes when she suddenly sees our hero in the same place, but he quickly leaves. But our heroine doesn't let him go and decides to grab him and interrogate him. And indeed, the first thing she asks him is, "What brought him here?" Our hero is flustered and doesn't understand the meaning of her question. The poor guy doesn't realize she thinks he's Stoker. But it becomes clear when she asks him how he knew her name and called him before even seeing or recognizing him. Our hero stands helpless before her question, unsure of what to say. All he can think about is that she holds the keys to his life, and he describes her as a warm spring breeze that calmed and saved him every time he was on the verge of collapse or in great danger. From here, we learn that our hero still carries secrets and that he met her after the accident, but she didn't see him because he was readmitted to the hospital due to his painful memories. So, will he be able to escape again, or will our heroine discover the truth and the dangerous secrets he's hiding?